All right, people. I think it might be very close to an all-time low in this particular date frame, because I don't know if you guys remember being here. Remember. It reminds you of this here. I was looking at the is it the info? Info. We'll share this tab instead. Now, you know this is a good thing when you're having a look at the top tokens on Pulse Chain in one of the OG sort of dexes. And number 19, I haven't heard of a lot of these, mind you. Is remember the 5th of November. That's quite funny. Pretty sure that's a quote from a movie of some sort. V for Vendetta comes to mind. Now, share this tab here. Okay, so there has been an update on go.hex.com. 2.0 just released. So let's have a quick look. Now, you can do this yourself at home, but it feels a little bit smoother. It loads a bit quicker. Has some more sort of sharper edges, I guess. We see the transfer tab. Loads not too bad. We see this here. Still looks fairly similar to me. You can check for updates. I'm not sure you can see the cursor. You can see the time, date, whatever. Change the networks. And also, this looks a bit different. So that's good to know. And like I said, to me, it loads quicker. It's faster, smoother. Perfect. Now, I don't know if you guys remember way back when you created your staking land. I'm sure you all did. I'm sure you all knew what you were doing. We didn't copy other ladders that were created already. And basically, there was ladders that I created way back when, and the whole point of them was to end slightly before really large ladders would end. And the assumption was, if you guys remember, if you end the ladder before maybe a large stake would end, you can sort of preemptively prepare. I'm not sure if that's overused there. You could prepare for mass dumping, because people's stakes would end and assume that they would either sell the whole lot, sell and scrape, or restake. If they sell or scrape, then you would be in a good position to pick up and scoop up some cheaper hex, if that's what you're trying to do. That was on the Ethereum chain, mind you. Things kind of changed, went over to Pulse chain, but now the large stakes are still in play, and one has just ended recently. And maybe this is why we're seeing the price come down. I'm not sure. I haven't checked on chain, but from memory, that's what I did. Now, what else? So I thought I'll go back and have a look. I'm not too bad at looking at recognizing patterns, etc. Okay, so downtrend, yeah, cool. What else? This is Pulse chain, remind you, because we never hit the all-time highs on Pulse chain chain. So technically, the all-time high was only about 4 cents. Where we are now, could it be the actual all-time low? Based on, it's kind of weird because there's two overlapping points of data, where you've got the potential all-time lows ish around here, and that is because, in my opinion, there was large stakes coming out and the sell pressure, and also there was a update for PulseX, and PulseX is actually inflating at 0.0003 INC per second, so it's become slightly more scarce. It's destroyed or made the APR very, very little. So if your purpose in life was to yield farm INC tokens and dump the INC tokens, maybe you need to get a new job. If you're holding them for whatever reason and the price is going up, that's good. But if it's going down, continues to go down, then I'm not sure if it's ever going to recover. Let's have a quick look there. I could look at Dex Screener, but we'll just do the cheating way and have a look at INC now. It's actually still at 39 cents, which is not bad considering everything else in the chain. So if everything else was to get up to 39 cents, it would be a pretty decent pump. Now, how could we get everything else up to 39 cents? Let's have a look. Is it realistic? I'm not sure. If you're yield farming, maybe, like I said, you need to get a new job at this point in time. However, super thin liquidity. I think there was someone out there that pulled some liquidity based on someone that posted something on X. Because maybe they were, like I said, the professional job was yield farming. Now, V1, V2. V2 is, let's have a look. Again, like I said, there's not that many recognizable tokens here. When I say that, I mean, if you look at page 3, page 2, because I've been following everything else, I don't know what that is. That is that, etc. Now there might be other communities out there who are offended by that. I don't know, because just like other people don't know who Hex community is, I don't know who that community is, even though they're part of a subsect of that original community. All right, so that is interesting to know. So just think about how the LP might work. You've got a big giant amount of once was economic energy, it's now more of a puddle, and we then have within that puddle another smaller puddle, and with that puddle another smaller puddle, and the whole idea is to make the little puddle bigger. I'm not sure. Now, so I think it's time we all remember basics. Now, I'm not sure who this is aimed at. I'll just bring up the chat if it pops up. But I'm really starting to think that maybe, just maybe, I might be able to begin some sort of daily challenge, weekly challenge, fortnightly, maybe just a fortnightly challenge, just to see if prices are near an all-time low, and if we're able to capture and lock these in. Because from memory, there's a few large stakes ending, but the vast majority of them have already ended, except for the OA stakes. I'm pretty sure they're still locked in. Some of them got pushed out 5, 5, 5, 5, so they're still going to be around. But yeah, it becomes thinner and thinner from memory from early streams. We used to see that. I don't know if you guys remember the chart with the red lines, the big red lines with the big stakes. There was a lot of activity in the first 5 years. And after about year 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, there was like large gaps of very minimal activity. Now, that could also mean that why we're seeing the price down so hard, because maybe people have exited the system. Also, people waited for Pulse Chain sacrifice, Pulse X sacrifice. People sacrificed for other sacrifices that took place, and even years and years later, there was the Prove X sacrifice, which was, I think, the most timely of them all in terms of the speed in which it actually was rolled out. Now, let's have a look at Prove X while we're talking about that. Now, if you see about here, I'm not even sure if that's why I'm looking at the YouTube feed. So if you see here, to the restream feed, if you see here, around about here, even though I've got log on, whatever, I've zoomed right out on the daily chart. This is about when someone decided to change what was set up by adding their own numbers into an equation. So it was once 2 plus 2, right, equals 4. And now it's 2 plus 2, and then someone came in and decided to add in 2 billion. And so now the number's a little bit different. And because the number's a little bit different, in my opinion, this is why we're seeing this negative downtrend. Now, it could be because the negative downtrend would allow for people to scoop up and gather more, maybe whatever it's paired with. Now, this is probably not the best example, Prove X USDC, but imagine if this is paired with a different token that's not stable and price is going down, and maybe you're just trying to gather up all of it. And the genius idea is to then pump it from oblivion to make like a 2, 3x, 10x. I'm not sure. Now, I have heard on other tokens, but that's not the point, because if you honestly believe that the price is going to $100 for a stable, which is currently very, very low, which may never peg, then you're allowed to do that with your life. That's fine. Just as I'm allowed to take the opposite side of that coin and bet to, if you're betting tails, I'm betting heads. Now, what would I know though? All I've seen is since that liquidity was added, which is the main point of this, what I'm talking about now, and then since then, it has been in a downward trend, and I'm not so sure that liquidity providing actually helped the price of ProveX. And maybe that's the whole point. I'm not sure, but it is a shame because I would have liked to see ProveX do a really hard run. But instead, what we're going to see is this. As we go review, do a quick recap. We're seeing slightly updated. It's very smooth. It's almost perfect on time. Slightly updated, I guess, user interface, front end. Quicker, smoother, sharper. I like. We see this base from here, a post saying this was just released, multiple wallet support, faster, smoother. I agree. I concur. I'm hoping for myself to be greedy to lock in maybe this is an all-time low for the next year or so. I'm not so sure. However, I do believe that from memory, if you I can't remember the name of the website. If you look back way back when, there's not much activity from year 6 onwards. There's lesser activity, a lot lesser stakes ending, maybe just general interaction with the chain or with the staking mechanism of Hex, the burn min function, is reduced a fair bit. So we're going to see potentially the following, which I'll cover next. Now, we've got this here. We've got Pulse Chain, Pulse X, INC, Hex all down, extremely down, borderline all-time lows. Now, if you're outside, this has been an absolute disaster. In terms of price, in terms of operational functionality, stability, zero downtime, Pulse Chain, Pulse X, Hex, INC have all operated flawlessly. Most recently, INC's, I guess, payout incentive there's not much incentive for it at all. So that is the breaking news, I guess you could say. Pulse Chain still provides, if you are a validator, I think it's about 8 or 9% APY, pretty sure. But the question is, you're paying hundreds or thousands of dollars to get equipment set up to earn yield of about not so much. But mind you, in saying that, if you then, that's for one validator. So one validator, I remember back in the day, initially when it first released, Pulse Chain it was like you have to spend maybe $1,000, $2,000 on equipment and have about $1,000 worth of Pulse to create a validator and earn about 8 or 9%. Now, just on the fly here, if you had that same amount of equipment, which if you don't have it, it sucks, you have to buy it. If you buy that same amount of equipment with Pulse Chain now, you create a validator, maybe you're going to get 2, 3, 10 validators, right? So it changes the amount of Pulse it could have, and then potential for upside, also potential for downside. So that's just one thing to think about. Pulse X is still, I'm surprised that hasn't performed a little bit better. Maybe we're entering a environment in the Pulse Chain ecosphere whereby the effort required to make something go down and up is a lot less because of things like, as we saw here, we're seeing very low APR. So not surprising if people would pool liquidity. Personally, I was thinking, because I have these stakes set up to remind myself things, that when you see low APR and if you're chasing high APR, where is one of the better APR plays at the moment? Arguably, it is Hex, surprisingly enough, right? Staking fees, not too bad. Both chains, however, basically the entire purpose of Pulse Chain, while Ethereum is more expensive, is to operate flawlessly on it with cheaper fees. So maybe that's what the market decided, right? Now, doesn't mean Hex on ETH is dead. However, if the price of Hex on Pulse Chain increases and you're able to trade on Pulse Chain cheaply and do things like that cheaply, you're probably going to do that on the cheaper chain. That makes sense. Now, let's have a look at the yield on hex.com. Before we do, we'll have a look at the broader market. Basically, what we're seeing is this, right? Shit show. BTC 66, still up from the prices I remember, 2011. I can't even remember where I look up the price of Bitcoin. Everyone said it was a scam. And 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21. I remember it was about $1,000 there, give or take. Ethereum, I still remember seeing it like levels like 17 cents or some shit. I cannot remember where that figure was, but I do remember seeing that price. I was like, this is garbage. DeFi is a scam. Bitcoin all the way, bro. And then BTC Cash tried to trick me, and I was like, oh, maybe BTC. Because yeah, that was about, it was close to parity, and now it's there's a bit of a difference there. Now, moving on, Gwei is very, very cheap at the moment. Now, it takes a little bit. You got to let it sit there for a while, and your transaction might go through, it might not. But it is a lot more usable than we all remember. The congestion of CryptoKitties, and then later on the S-load function, whatever, for that would help operate X hex calculation with the daily calculation, causing a disaster nightmare for fees. I remember it was like hundreds and thousands of dollars. Now you can end stakes on Hex, on Ethereum Hex, for a lot cheaper. And if you're prepared to wait, even cheaper again. Sending and all that, swapping is actually not too bad. But again, Pulse Chain is a lot cheaper. Everyone, if you haven't heard of Pulse Chain, I'm surprised. But yeah, I don't think if you're already in the community, I'm pretty sure you know this. If you're outside of the community, it's very hard to convince people of this. It's like very hard to convince people to sort of change banks, for example. So it's also going to be very hard for people to change their how they operate with cryptocurrencies. So whether that be leverage trading on platforms, whether that be day trading on like Uniswap or something, or day trading on different tokens, I don't know, a combination of those two or three, it's going to be very hard to convince them. Did you know there's other yield out there? But maybe we could take it back to basics and be like, bro, there is some decent yield now over on Hex, on either Ethereum or Pulse Chain. There's a bridge. Understand how bridges operate. Maybe get some cap. Anyway, back to this, right? So let's have a look. Do some quick, simple calculations if my math is correct. Now, let's say we do 1 million Hex. Oh, calendar looks different. What are these dots? Hang on? Can you guys see that? What's up with these dots, people? It's like, the fuck is this? Anyway, getting easily distracted here by simple dots. Let's have a look at. Okay, so I'm swapping year pretty rapidly here. All right, cool. So I don't understand what those dots were. Okay, so the dot here, right, back on 2026. And so back to here, maybe we do. Okay, maybe this is the end date. I'm not sure. Start date should anyway. Let's just do 30th of April, right? And say you do. Okay, doesn't let me. The first. Okay, anyway. Is it pain? I don't know. two for pain, 3 for extreme pain. Now, say we do 32 days at 1 million Hex, right? And 1 million Hex, when this thing was like 55 cents on the Ethereum chain, with one instance, I guess, it was very, 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 very valuable. Now, I think I actually started off with 1 million Hex, and the whole idea from memory was to get more Hex. And I think I staked it about 100,000 Hex per whatever. And I set it up for like 15 years. So somehow, basically based on that, I have more Hex than I started off with. Now, going into this example, you say you have a million hex. It's a different figure, but different game. But say you have a million hex and you put it away for 32 days. Now we're looking at, again, I don't like doing maths live on stream, but I do like calculating the APR. So say you get, okay, so hang on. What are we getting? Let's say so we say per month, right? So we say per month of like say 17,699, which is not that much if you look at the trade, the value of hex at the current price. Would we say 17,699? It's like $23, right? On about $1,300 something dollars, which is okay. Let's calculate that. What is that? If you go by pure units, it's about 23.43. It's funny because the other day I calculated at 31. Anyway, so I'm not sure what's happened since then, but that's about 23.43, which is a lot better than that. Larger is large. That number is larger than, if we have a look at the farm, is basically zero. I don't know if you guys saw that. Oh, hang on. It burned. It loads. Oh, it loaded at zero. It's like it's zero, and then I had to add the decimals in because it was so not much. So liquidity is low. Arguably APR is about 23.43. Now I did a calculation the other day, gave me 31, 32. So I'm not sure why that is. But then again, like I said, if we actually do the proper calculation, and we say 266, so we do, well, that's like, pretty sure that's 20.6, but let's just do the thing anyway. What is the APY on that? It is yeah, 20.0666. That's probably the easiest way to calculate this. But for some reason, when I did, again, this isn't including T-shares, people. This is including the scarcity mechanism, how it gets harder to get these things. But yeah, that's what it is. So maybe, I know it's back to basics where we see, maybe you want some yield. I don't know, when you were selling it, maybe you're scraping it daily. I mean, you could, would it be worth it daily? I mean, it might be with this low pulse rate, but I wouldn't be doing that, man. That's crazy. What's 28th? What's 2 days? You get 1,216 hex, which is not a lot. $1.64, but mind you, to create a stake and end a stake is probably less than $1.64. You can then transfer that over to Pulse. So you get like 211,000 Pulse, which one day could be worth $1 each, which could be crazy. But in the meantime, it's not in the short term that's going to happen. So yeah, so that's a brief breakdown of yeah, nah, all good. Catch up, Fibé, all good. So if you are looking for higher yield, funnily enough, you got a ladder now. INC is now bottom. Pulse validator is actually in the middle, and Hex is providing about, as we saw, 20.066 on this particular instance of Hex, right? You can go have a look at Ethereum, same thing, just higher fees. On Pulse chain, it's quite reasonable, the amount of fees you have to pay, although any fees suck. But on Pulse chain, the fees are very, very, very minor. So that is about it. We have Hex.com 2.0 released, faster, smoother, multiple wallet support. We see potentially a bottom for Hex on Pulse chain, I believe, because of my memory of the way the large stakes were ended and the amount of dumping that's available to people. It's making it harder for people to crush the price. You have buy one X to crush it. Now, Prove X, again, it is my opinion that the liquidity was set up in such a way with the stables. It was sort of trending nicely up and to the right. Maybe people were buying, trading happily. Either mega whales came in and dumped the price, which you can't stop, or it could have been because there was some funny liquidity added with some things like PDI. Like I said, I'm not a fan of PDI. I'm not convinced that it's going to ever peg. If it does, congratulations, but I'm not going to be like thinking this is magically going to peg because I believe it is, because I believe it varies. It's like I need to know logics behind it. Now, the next thing is performance of Pulse has been atrocious. Pulse X, I see all atrocious, but now we're seeing some really, really, really conditions, harsh conditions, extreme conditions. We're seeing conditions where we're like in a primordial soup where life is about to form, right? Because it's either going to die and go even lower, which case I basically would just, I'll be trapped here until 5 ends, and or some other ones go out further, or I would hopefully like to see some lightning hit that shit, and we see some crazy upside movements. However, will that happen? Time will tell. We don't know. I think that's it, though. Basically, if you remember, you got to remember Hex, right? Go back to basics. And even the founder came out and said maybe too much was issued, causing some issues with the overall gameplay that weren't, I guess, readily calculated. So maybe there's too many people, too much of it's just going to be dumped to infinity. That's why we're seeing the price action like the way it is. So if you think about going way back, if you think about ending a stake, minting your Hex, what are you doing with that? If you're selling it all, price go down. If you're even scraping it, price go down. But if it's laddered out in a certain way, it's reduced that negative sell pressure just slightly. It's still there, but it's just reduced at a reduced rate, hence the laddering effect. It's not like you had to come in on day one, lock in like 15 years or 5 days, 5.2 years, 15.2 years, whatever, and then you're trapped there. It was up to you how you want to play this game, right? So I'm sure all of you went in and selected days that you wanted to end the stake on based on large stakes around it, etc., and calculated, well, if this happens, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. Now, what wasn't probably part of the calculation was the big, giant, insane sacrifice, which then created mad pumps. I'm pretty sure there's a big amount of crypto floating around in the sacrifice addresses, and God knows where they are now, because I'm pretty sure they got run through privacy protocols, which is really smart in this day and age, because I think everyone's realizing that the importance of privacy protocols, because you don't get paid from, you don't buy food from a fast food chain or a supermarket or a petrol station or a bank, and then you can see how much money and where they hold it, because that wouldn't be good operational security in my opinion. But yeah. And then last but not least, the T-share mechanism. So we've got to remember, I think Crispy Man follows it pretty closely. The T-share ratcheting effect. Basically, if you stake 1 million Hex now, what would you get T-share wise? 22.358. If you were to stake 1 million Hex you would get 67 T-shares, right? Remember, the T-share indicates how much Hex you get per T-share, etc. And if you staked 1 million Hex from the beginning of inception through Big Payday, the amount of T-shares would be a lot different to what it is now. That is the mechanism by which you kind of lose track of over time, because in my opinion, you're just looking at this here and you're saying, okay, well, I have 1 million Hex, right? However much that costs, and I want to get how much dollars? Say it's 30 days, right? So you're going to treat it like a T-bond? Not really. Certificate of deposit, maybe. You go, okay, 30 days, I'll get 16 where's my pulse X? As it currently sits now, you go into your own little DeFi, you run your own code, you spin up some numbers, and you interact with a you know interact with a token, right, on a faster, smoother network, Pulse chain. If you're familiar with Ethereum and how that works, and then you go, okay, so for 30 days, right, I have this amount of hex, which is equal to say a million hex, 1,351. And so in 30 days, I'm able to produce, create, give birth to 16,600, right? So 16,600, which would give me $22.43. Okay. So compare that to whatever else you want to do compare to. Then you can start changing dates. You can start going, okay, 60 days. We got 33.04. Good, I'm boring myself now. $44.70, right, for 60 days. And then we go 90, etc. etc. So we got 49,567. 49,567. All right, $66.97, right? $66.97 for 90 days. It's like what, $20. So yeah, okay, close to the 20.066 APY, which is higher than Friday LP. Now, can you get higher APY elsewhere? Potentially, but in this environment, it's actually hard to do. But the one problem, everyone's lost faith in Hex, Pulse Chain, INC, Pulse X, and the price keeps dipping, right? So if you then do that, and then the million Hex is worth 1,352, and then it drops down to like 1,000, a sub 1,000, etc., start dropping zeros, adding zeros again, that can get nasty. But then if it starts doing the opposite and taking zeros away, some of the longer stakes come out. Maybe they're worth. Maybe Hex is worth $1 each. Maybe Pulse Chain's worth a cent. Maybe Pulse X is worth $100. Maybe Hex is worth $100. And all of a sudden, those longer stakes you locked away to pay yourself in the future, maybe they're looking all right. And if you didn't sell, which would be very hard to, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people, like you shouldn't take profits when you're spinning up a poker machine. You hit the jackpot. It's very hard to hit that jackpot, and if you try and hit the jackpot a second time, you might lose all that initial capital to try and get that second jackpot. In which point in time, you'll be like, hang on. You could argue it's a round trip, but depending on how you're looking at it, it'd be, number one, very hard to do. Number two, would it be wise to do that? I'm not sure. So yeah. So the question is, what should I do if I had a million Hex and should I stake it for 30 days, 90 days, 180? We got for 180. Got 99. That's not bad. 133. And what's that in Australian dollars? We've got 133 USD to AUD. Now, so these are little amounts, and you've got like maybe $133, which gives you 193, which is not bad. So then, if you're super game and you go, okay, well, fuck this, I want to do 10 years, right? And then I want to triple my money. Like, yeah, triple my money effectively. And hopefully it's still, operating and everything's all good and we're not like mad low. You would then, if you're a gambling man, you're going to wait 10 years. 10 years, man, it's a long time. You would then have 4,053 based on your $1 million Hex, priced at 1,350. And if you don't need that, then maybe you come out and you're thinking, oh, that's pretty sweet. See, I'm looking at that going, that's pretty juicy. But 10 years for that? What if I already waited 5 years for something that was once worth like a lot relative to what it's worth now? And I thought, it's going to be like so good. And it comes out like, oh, it's not quite what I expected. Now, 555, about the same, right? No big payday bonus. Again, so yeah, it's 4853. I guess at that point you're locking away, hoping the price is like insane. I don't know if I can do it, man. I'm just not sure if I can fucking lock that for 15 years, man. I'm gonna be like I'm already kind of old now. I'm gonna be getting older at that point in time. But there might not be anyone else here to play with this shit anymore. We might just be worth that much. There'll be like low liquidity. You like make one sell for some like bazillion dollars, and there's just like slippage of like 99%, but it's still worth like a bazillion dollars. That'd be crazy. Okay. What do we got? In closing, I'm not really sure there was much of a point to this stream other than for me documenting what is going on, because yeah, we're seeing, in my opinion, people selling, which is fine. They've hit the jackpot, they're cashing out. Maybe they understand that every now and then, you get more free spins and it pays out magically. But you got to remember, you got to feed the beast. People aren't feed. If you, the comparison is, in my opinion, to something like ProveX. People aren't feeding this, right? They're just taking out jackpot, all the winnings, but then they're not spinning anymore. And then because no one's spinning anymore, no one can make any more new high gains. Hence, we see the prices get decimated. Particularly off. Thank you for tuning in, man. I'm just analyzing, making an analogy between cryptocurrency and pokies. Basically, people aren't like feeding the machine. If you don't feed the machine, you can't expect to put $1 in and then all of a sudden, hit the jackpot. But if you constantly play, that sounds bad, because if you ever have a look at pokies, how they work, man, it seems like you're always losing. It feels like you're winning. You're watching the things, the animations, the sounds. Oh, wait, and then you're realizing every spin is like negative, 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 negative. So that's one plus side of the cryptocurrency. Kind of when you say you dollar cost averaging in, instead of going negative, 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 you're just moving the ledger, so to speak. You're moving from fiat to crypto, and it's like your fiat's like negative, negative, negative. Crypto is just like positive, 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 balancing out. And it's not until you actually hit the jackpot on the crypto, you get the massive positive, and then if you decide to take profits out of crypto back into the fiat world, then you see a big positive there. So that's kind of cool. Poker, yeah, that's a good analogy. But yeah, that's probably that's a good analogy, poker, because you're actually playing against the house, I guess, and other participants. But yeah. Now, anyway, so that's what I think is happening with this. Hex, like I said, could be maybe an all-time low. It's very hard to say, but based on, like I said, keep repeating myself. When the stakes were created in the beginning, there was many stakes, and there was not much activity after this, because large stakes were ending around this time. Some of them were OA related from memory, I believe. Not sure if they documented it. And basically, when the large stakes ended, the theory was people would sell, take profit, scrape, whatever, the increased chance of price going down. And so my thoughts were based on that. Then, if people had a lot of hex at the beginning, like larger than me, like the top tier rankings, if you're then bragging about being top tier and things like that, which is fine. That's you got like, you didn't get lucky, but you kind of like made the good choice at the right time, took the opportunity to purchase. But see, the thing is now, everyone up there is sitting on larger bags. Portfolio is down a lot because we're seeing the 99% correction. And if you're not feeding the machine, you're not going to have any more wins. And if you're constantly taking it out and you're seeing your portfolio shrink and you're seeing your large hex stakes end, and you're seeing, you go, oh, this was once worth a lot more, especially on Ethereum, and now it's worth like barely anything. So hundreds of millions, maybe billions, easily. Now it's hundreds of thousands, which is now tens of thousands. And the question is, do you need this money? And if it's yes, then you're going to sell. And if you're going to sell, this is why we are in this position here after many years. And that's not because those people are above, who have large accounts, are evil when they sold. It's just because we all created a community whereby we can all like eyeball each other's wallets easier than other communities out there in cryptocurrencies. And basically, we see the actions and the participants and what they're doing, whether or not they're likely to sell, hold, buy, whatever. And the ones that are selling continue to sell, and this is why we're in this position. But using the analogy of pokies, it makes sense that the ones that sell continue to sell because they're taking all their winnings out. You got to take your winnings. And if you're taking your winnings and you are then, not playing anymore because you hit a jackpot, the question is who then is going to, who's going to feed this machine? It's like, do you encourage other people to feed the machine? You encourage other people to feed the machine. Yeah, they might hit jackpot too, but only if you have certain conditions. And the certain conditions are, in my opinion, low liquidity. Like as we're seeing here, very low liquidity, like not even worth providing LP anymore. If, in my opinion, if I had a choice, I would basically be staking Hex again, possibly in the short term versus long term. We can look back here though. This was when I was doing was it Uber challenge? There was a point in time I was doing an Uber challenge, and I think we can see here that you can see the difference here. At one point, 55,000 Hex was worth $1,273 on this chain. Now, if we go 55,088, that is that right? That so that can't be. That's gonna be the yield total. Yeah, no, that's a pretty big negative because 55,448 was once 1,273, and that is now $74.97. Oof. At this point in time, we've gone from like $20 a spin to $1 a spin. We're probably in the range of like the 10-cent spin, almost 1 cent at this point in time. So the winnings, the upside is not going to be as much, in my opinion, because the jackpot is not as high. And yeah, it's not looking. It's not like at this point in time, it's not like we're going to be getting huge returns. It's going to be almost like if we get a 10x at this point, it's going to be good, right? Like a 10x at this point, that's 740, right? That's still not even. But that's still a fair bit off that all-time high, which is probably around here, the 1,273. That's probably a more realistic view. Again, there's the inflation, the decimation of the currencies, which could cause, people to buy cryptocurrency. But the problem is, no one has any money left. So rich people do, but I'm not sure rich people are going to be like, I want to buy some Hex. I'm not even going to buy cryptocurrency. So I know what rich people do, but they're not like playing with 10-cent slot machines, I don't think. Yeah, wow. I'm basically talking to myself here and trying to figure out, should one just sell any amount of Hex they have left? I believe it's like just sell, run, don't get tied up with the emotional baggage, just sell it, bro. And the other side is like, well, you could hold on to it and hope for like 1, 2, 3x, 4x. And the other option is like you can inject fresh capital. I mean, when 99% of your money is house money, it's not a surprise that the price is down 99%, is it now? It is a shame though, because it's a shame because very early on, like I said, the very early on talking points were things like, for the little guy, we're gonna see everyone win. All the creatures in the sea, hopefully they all become multimillionaires, lock it in. The reality is it hasn't performed well in terms of price appreciation, but everything else it has. So yeah, I'm not sure what it's going to take to turn this price around. I think the price just hit 1337. So if this is the all-time low, That would be cool. But as to where the price is going, um, maybe not having expectations is a really good analogy, because if you're expecting like $10,000, what's the price now? 69,000 per token on Bitcoin. If you're expecting that price for Hex, for instance, maybe you'd be upset. You have expectations. But if you get something a lot lower, maybe you should be happy for that, because at the moment it is what it is. There's no changing it, and we've seen price continue to go down. We see my continued. I'm not even sure what this is anymore. It's basically just pointing out that I still exist and still here, and what the price has done. Um, and given the fact now LP's been like basically it was already extremely low, and now it's just like not even worth it. It's definitely worth going back to basics and almost entering back into Hex and staking Hex. And but that's like, it's hard to explain that to people, because they're like, yeah, but look at the price of the token now. So I understand the pain out there. I hope everyone's all good, and wishing the best to everyone. And again, just because you sold and murdered us all on the price chart doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means you were just able to pull the trigger first. So congratulations to you. Now, for the rest of the people who thought this was a long-term game of survival of the fittest, it kind of is, but it's almost like at the moment we've already lost, right? But now we just want to prove that we're right, but we don't care that we've already lost. Right? So it's a very interesting game at the moment. Um, for the large bag holders, I do wonder if at this point in time what the portfolios would look like. I don't know if there's a way to find out what the top bag holders are of Hex. Hang on. Good old AI. Let's have a look. Pretty sure this is on X5.io, the like the relevant holders and how much Hex they have and how much it might be worth. Okay, so if you have 100 million Hex, that's now worth roughly $56,000. Now, 100 million Hex back in the day, all-time high, was worth a lot. So look. It's kind of embarrassing now, demoralizing. We got it. We got it. Now, share that here. Now, from memory, if you guys don't remember this, but someone might. If we have a look now, price it. So this is Ethereum Hex. So you're a whale though. You still might have $500,000 to $5.6 million worth of Hex. So that's not nothing, you know. But if you're like as a crabs, if you're a fish, I'm not sure that's the right. I'm not sure this is right, people. Wasn't there squids and then turtles and? Well, assume this is right anyway. So if you're a shark, so shark was a pretty formidable position, but now it's only 56 to half a million to. I mean, the whales are pretty good. I'm pretty sure wasn't there 13 whales or something. The humpback. I'm pretty sure there was a Poseidon, but yeah. Interesting. I never thought of that. At one stage, it was like even the squids were like over a million. I'm pretty sure that all the squids are a million. Now, that million, you would be in a whale position. So if you were able to cash out at the top, and then enter back in now, he would create some extreme slippage against you. But yeah, the leagues are a lot different. Fascinating. So, so like I said, it's in my opinion, not that anyone should listen to me. It's almost like people should go back to the old, the old. It's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna work. The old like buy and stake hacks. But the problem is there's not going to be any sacrifices. And the problem is everyone's broke. And the problem is, um, hopefully people made it enough so they don't even have to play in the casino anymore. But if you didn't and you're still here, like myself, unfortunately, then I'm gonna figure out a way to get out of this shit through like these particular means. I mean, there's other work, like work, etc. Um, but yeah, like that's not the best, mate. Fuck. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. But yeah, I think that's the truth behind the story of Hex at the moment. Um, I think where we currently sit, we got to hope and pray for some sort of divine intervention of God knows what. Like I said, because my little, if I do a little Uber challenge, purchase X amount per week, per fortnight, per month, document it, and then stake it and keep track of it all, I don't think it's going to be a very pleasant sight. It's not going to be enough to, definitely not going to be enough to um, change lives. That's for sure. So the moral of the story is you get in early, you get that big, giant, massive pump, that jackpot, then you cash that shit out as soon as you fucking can. Because no matter how good the machine is, you got to be rich first. And then if you don't cash out and you keep fucking hitting spin after spin after spin, you end up back at the beginning. Now, I think that's the harsh reality of it. I'll just have a look if anything else is happening. I don't think there is. There is some large amounts of hex being moved out at the moment. I'm not so sure what that could mean. Do. But yeah, I don't know, man. We are a big community, however, we have been demoralized. Yeah, I can't really find too much else, people. That's about it. That's a pretty harsh reality. That looks crazy. But yeah, I think. I wonder what happens next, though. All right, people. All the best. I do wish everyone wishes the Madison gains. However, the sad story behind Hex is this the all time low or is there more pain to come? All right, free speech signing out.